So we're all here in this very auspicious time. Believe it or not, it is auspicious, even though it may seem challenging in ways or another. But that said, I've been studying astrology for many years. I have seen all kinds of astrological configurations, probably almost everything that you can think of. And astrology is a study of harmonics. It's the study of our energy body. It's the study of how we relate to the world around us. And the way it works is that we decide that we're going to come to this 3D reality on planet Earth. And when we are conceived and born, there are different astrologers that have different views on this. Some view conception as the beginning of your energy body, and some view the energy body that you're going to work with is when you are born. So basically, not all of us know exactly when we were conceived, but we know the approximate time period and what was going on in the constellations and where we were in the sun as we were conceived. But most often, your astrological chart is configured at the time that you take your first breath. When you take your first breath, it's like an energy pattern, kind of like shrink wraps on your body. And that energy pattern is how you are going to view the world around you. It's how you view your relationships. It's what your passions are, what you want to manifest, what your goals are, what your gifts are, what your challenges are. So all of that is configured in a chart, and it kind of looks like this. This is like an example of what your birth chart looks like. Okay. So that said, there are people that can interpret this energy pattern, and they're known as astrologers. And that is kind of my expertise. That's what I've been studying probably since before I was born. But I was kind of introduced to it in probably second grade when I had such a passion for the solar system. And then I had my first chart reading when I was 17. And I thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do. This is my passion. And then I started studying with this woman in 1971. And my drawback was I was very poor in math. I was good in geometry, but very poor in math. So I figured I would never be able to be an astrologer because it's all about putting stuff together in a mathematical way. So then computers came on the scene, probably in the mid 70s. And you could pay $2 to have a chart done, but you have to send to California to get it. So I was just so elated that I could spend this $2, but you'd have to wait weeks for this chart to come because it was all snail mail then. So I invested so much money in buying charts, I can't even tell you, because I wanted to find out, all about this. But then, I had to learn it. And I first started studying when I was 6 months pregnant with my first child. And it's interesting because first class was in the second floor of a department store. I don't know. I guess there were classrooms there. And so that began my passion. That said, astrology goes back eons. It goes back eons and eons and eons. And it's kind of like a lost art, and it's a lost science, but it has started to rebirth. It was kind of hidden during the Middle Ages and all that because it was declared as witchcraft. And, that you weren't allowed to know this. Or the Druids, they would follow the stars and everything like that, and they were declared as, evil people. Or, although the kings and the queens of that time would always have their astrologers to do their battles, or when would be an auspicious time to be crowned, or when would be an auspicious time to do that. But the fall of astrology seemed to happen probably 13,000 years ago during the fall. And gradually, we forgot our star origins. And now we are waking up to that again. And that started changing around the turn of the century. And more astrologers started writing books. And so here we are. We want to know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. That's why we're here. We figure that maybe I might have a pretty good idea, but it's only my interpretation. So you have to realize that each astrologer will interpret our particular configurations in our solar system and the constellations around us in a different way. So there's many different types of astrologers. There's medical astrologers, there's esoteric astrologers, that's study of the soul. There's astrologers that are predictive, astrologers that tell you when to, they're financial advisors. I mean, they just, there's such an array. But my particular bent is the study of the soul. It's to understand what our soul's purpose and why we are becoming the human beings that we were meant to wake up to. We are born in a very auspicious time, of the Mayan calendar, where we are waking up to ourselves in a way that we have never been able to wake up to ourselves ever. We've been programmed to kind of like resonate with what's going on, but the consciousness behind it has never been as astute as it has been now. You can probably notice that there's been a big change since 2020, when the whole world shut down. But that shutdown, that gigantic shutdown, allowed people to wake up in ways that they have never been able to wake up to before. And as we go farther around there, 2025 is supposed to be a momentous year, and we are moving towards that. And then from then on, more and more people are going to wake up to their energy bodies of who they are. And you really won't need an astrologer. You will intuitively have that connection with your heart to know that you can feel this impulse or that impulse. And you will understand, in fact, that is what this year is about. It's about, and the eclipse cycles have activated that, and that's what we're going to go into. So we're going to talk about eclipses. We're going to kind of like diverge and go back into that. But anyway, we are waking up to a new level of who we are, what our compassions are, what our gifts are, what we want to manifest through our heart center, not what we have been told to do or how to do it or how to fit in. It's all about our heart-centered goals of what we want to reach. So I'm going to go a little bit into the eclipse cycle because that has been the most recent activation of energies, especially this year and next year. There was an eclipse earlier this spring that was the very last degree of Aries. And I have a bunch of notes here, and I'm gonna follow these notes. I usually don't. I try to remember everything because the reason I want to follow these notes is because I don't want to miss anything, and I want to give you the info of where we're at right now. But The eclipse cycle is our relationship to the sun, moon, and the earth. So, how does that work? Okay, the earth is traveling around the sun. The moon is traveling around the earth. And there is a line of the earth, the moon going around the earth, and the earth going around the sun is called the ecliptic. And when the cycle of the moon going around the earth and the cycle of the earth going around the sun connect, there is a connection between the sun, moon, and the earth. We just went through a new moon eclipse. That means the earth was here, the moon was here, and the sun was blocked out by the shadow of the moon. It was all in alignment. Now, in a few weeks, there's going to be a lunar eclipse. So this one, we just went through a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse equates to new moon. It's a new beginning. It was in the constellation of Libra, which is the scales. Libra has to do with balancing the scales. It has to do walking the sword, the sword's edge, the razor's edge. Not, it's being in harmony with what happens so that you're not swayed this way or that way. It's being able to maintain the balancing of the scale as you walk through your life. It's walking that middle path. That's what this particular flavor of this eclipse was about. But this year, but what I want to go into is that the eclipses is activating a stream of consciousness depending on the astrological signs. So the eclipse cycle that we are in is relating to the constellation of Aries, which has to do with initiating our soul's purpose on an esoteric level. Esoteric means a deep inner level of what your passions are. It's not the mundane world around you. It's not you viewing the world and something happens to you. It's you going within your center and you drawing circumstances into you so that you can relate to what's happening. So, the eclipse cycle that we are in is an Aries, Libra. Aries and Libra are in opposition to each other. So the eclipse that happened this spring was in Aries. This particular solar new moon eclipse happened in Libra. Now, it's very interesting because these eclipse cycles go in for a whole eclipse cycle to happen. That means for it to go into each one of the signs, Aries and Libra, Taurus and Scorpio, and so forth, all the way around, it takes 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours to complete. It's called a Saros cycle. So every 18 years and 11 days, the cycle repeats itself so that we are in the same cycle again. And this particular eclipse cycle that we are in was also the same eclipse cycle that happened in 2004. That said, if you have a good memory and if you know that what was going on in 2004, you can get a good idea of what you are going to be going through in this particular eclipse cycle. So, therefore, the eclipse in this spring was at 29 degrees Aries. And we're going to break this down of how it's going to activate each of our biosuits. Our biosuit is the physical body that our soul inhabits to experience the world around us. In the past, have just been able to relate to the 3D reality around us, which means that we have been relating to the world around us as if it's outside of us. But actually, it's virtual reality. We have to go inside of our eyes. It's kind of like when you close your eyes and you look out behind your closed eyes, that's you inhabiting this biosuit. When you open your eyes, you see a reality around you. And that is the kind of like the stage of where everything happens around us. But basically, we're viewing it through our own filters. And we have to take everything back behind our eyes and view the world around us. And that's what's happening. So nothing that happens in the outside world is out there. It's all how we view it from inside out. So therefore, in this eclipse cycle, we talked about an eclipse cycle as being an intensification of energy that is going to activate the way we view the world. So this particular eclipse cycle is so important because we are cleaning up and clearing the slate so that we can create in ways that we have never created before. The new moon eclipse in the spring was the 29th degree of Aries. That probably means nothing. But Aries is all about taking action. It's about jumping in a frying pan and not knowing where you're going. It's about the soul. It's about innocence. It's about being a child. It's about the beginning of creation. That's what Aries is all about. But being the 29th degree of that means that it's a critical degree. That means that everything that is not essential to who we are as a soul must be viewed and cleared up, and the slates we have to make peace with it, so to speak. We have to look at old patterns and outdated thought forms, our ancient lineages that activate our lives, and decide if they are appropriate for where we are going. It's a time that we are creating we are going inside of ourselves and asking if it is part of the plan that we want to initiate. And if it isn't, this is the time that we have an opportunity to clear the slate so that we can manifest what's truly important for us. And I know that since 2020, it was a great wake-up call to decide what was really important for us. Are we going to follow the status quo, or are we going to wake up to what we really want to be? So often we hear people say, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And we end up not even doing that. And I'm not even sure if I like that term so much, but the fact of the matter is, we have an opportunity to during this next 2-year cycle, to wake up to what we really want to create and manifest. Where do we want to be our spiritual warrior? And if we don't take this action, the universe is going to create that for us. So is it better to look at what we really want and try to initiate that on our own? And doors will open to that. Doors will really open to that. You know, there have been times in my life when I have been so full of fear about taking action on something, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just can't do this. I can't do this. And then I step through the fear, and it's not even what I thought it would be. And that's where we're at right now. We can no longer avoid or ignore those whispers that remind us of our highest truth. We cannot do that anymore. And each and every one of you here, I mean, you're thinking how average humanity might not even be aware of that, but they might not, but you are. And we are radiant beings. And our radiance and our presence within the people that aren't awake to this yet have the potential of waking up just being in our presence. So that was a new moon. That was a new beginning that started earlier this year. A couple weeks after that, we had a lunar eclipse, which was in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio has to do on an esoteric level of the deepest part of who we are. It's that part of ourselves that is so hidden and deep within ourselves but it's also where we can tap into the occult, to that hidden part of ourselves so that we can discover who we really are inside. So we had the capacity a couple weeks after this eclipse of activating our childlike innocence to new things and decide what was appropriate for us and what wasn't appropriate for us, to go inside of ourselves and do some deep detective work and find out what we wanted to change on a deep emotional level. And many of us here have been doing this. And if you haven't been, it's not too late, because we're still in this eclipse cycle. Just me talking about this today is going to activate those parts of ourselves that want to take advantage of all of this. So, understanding that we are changing our emotional output, those deep reactions of how we react to a situation, to what we feel about a situation. Emotions and feelings are different. So when we emote, emotions are always about reaction. Feelings are always about true essence. Oh my God, I feel hurt. Oh my God, I feel joyful. Oh my God, that really hurts me. Those are feelings versus, oh my God, I'm so fearful. Oh my God, you did this to me. Those are emotions. Okay, so understanding that we want to take actions to change this blueprint within ourselves, which is another part of this whole process, because this great gateway opened up called the Syrian Stargate. That happened in the spring. Now, what is a Syrian Star? What is a Stargate? A Stargate is an opening, a portal that has great potential to open us up to what we want to create. And a Syrian Stargate has to do with our blueprint body. How do we want to take action, develop our passion, develop what we want, go back to when we were children and feel that innocence again, express our feelings, and change our blueprint body. We have the capacity to do that like we've never been able to do before. That's what the Syrian Stargate is all about. And that's going to be active for the next 2-year period. The same time we're in this particular eclipse cycle of Aries and Libra. So now we're going to go another step. So the spring eclipses happen twice a year, going on this ecliptic cycle. So it happened in the spring in Aries, and now this new moon eclipse happened in Libra. October 14th of 21 degrees of Libra. So now we are discovering that every single relationship we have, whether it's with the planet, with a person, with ourselves is all within ourselves. Nothing ever happens to us. We bring circumstances into our body to have a relationship with us so that we can learn. So if we're having a challenging time with a person outside of ourselves, they are reflecting something that they're mirroring something to us that we have to open up to. If they're bringing joy to our life, we're in sync with that. We're in harmony with that. That's great. But when it's challenging, oh my God, what is it activating within myself so that I can have a better perspective of who I am? We can no longer blame. Everything we experience in our reality is a projection of ourself. It's a mirror of ourself. It's a looking glass to hold that mirror up and say, oh my God, there I am again. Our reactions give us insight to where we are out of balance. And that's where the Libra energy comes. How are we balancing? You know, the Egyptians had this phrase of when your heart becomes as light as a feather on the scales, you are in true harmony with yourself. Where do you have a heavy heart? Where is that scale being lifted? So how do we do this? How do we become aware of when we're having a reaction? Because we can't always figure it out ourselves. I'll tell you, especially when we're deep in it. And I'm going to give you an example of what I went through because, you know, I'm in it just as much as everybody else. I'm in this energy field of waking up to who I am. And the way we work through this is when we are having a reaction, when we are out of balance, when we are in disharmony with what's going on around us. Hopefully we have some trusted friends where we can talk about the situation. If we don't, we can go maybe inside of ourselves. And if we go inside of ourselves and we have a clear meditation, we can find compassion for what's going on within ourselves. A lot of us need other people to fill us in and discover what those blind spots are. Light Body is one of those groups right now that, you know, that we all have been working on blind spots to discover those parts of ourselves that we can't see. We have the capacity to have the courage to tell the truth when it's not so, when the situation isn't so nice, it's kind of sloppy, you know? I chose to have a hayride this particular eclipse on this eclipse cycle, okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of my, I figured, oh my God, the eclipse cycle, everybody's going to have a good time. They're going to come to my house. We have this land and we're going to create this experience for people. And I bought eclipse glasses and everybody can come and look at the sun. And where I lived, there was only going to be a partial eclipse, but that didn't matter. I figured they'd put their eclipse glasses on and they'd be able to view this partial eclipse. That was part of the plan. Okay. So then I'm trying, I created this hayride because I have a granddaughter, you know, and I'm going to go into this story just to show you how off balance and disharmonious everything was. So, you know, I have to take it back on myself. So anyway, this is all, my granddaughter's birthday is on October 11th and it's right around Halloween. So, you know, we created this hayride and we put up all these, skeletons, and it's kind of like a PG haunted house, you know, where all these 5, 6, 7-year-olds will go on this hayride and look at all this. So so at one point I'm also, you know, I'm putting everything together and I decided that, well, if it's going to be a beautiful day, I want something for the adult to do while we're taking the kids around on the hayride, and for people to do. So I decide that I am going to bring this cornhole game in for everybody. Well, I don't know the first thing about cornhole. Okay, I do not know it, but I know that when I go to parties, people love to play it. So I figured, well, I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to have, I have these activities that people can do. So this was one of the activities that I was going to create so that people, when they were interacting with each other, they could sit there and, sip their cider and play cornhole and all this. Well, I asked my son-in-law, I'll ask a bunch of people if they had any cornhole games, and a cornhole game, because I don't even have it. And my son-in-law said that he would be able to provide it. He had a friend that had one, and he made all the arrangements. Well, last weekend, he texted me saying, I was supposed to pick up this cornhole game, and, it was raining out, and we forgot about it. I guess we're just going to have to do without it. Oh, my God. Talk about pre-eclipse reaction. I went into, oh, my God. How can he do this to me? How could this happen? He promised it. And, I'm doing all of this and I'm, oh God, I'm just being the greatest victim that you can be. Now, this is, even though the eclipse happened the following weekend, all the energy lining up to this is still eclipse energy. Okay? So basically, I call my daughter up and she says, Mom, it's just a cornhole game. I said, but you don't understand. I have to have it. I have to have it. So, I'm going into this drama of like, oh my God, I'm the victim. This is not going to happen. I want to create this situation. I want to make this party wonderful and this and that. Mom, this is just a cornhole game. So I hang up. The next day, fortunately, I have a group of friends that I could talk with. And I went inside myself and I found out that this cornhole game was not, my reaction to it was not about the cornhole game. It was, yes, I was disappointed, but it was all about me and how I was let down in previous times in my life. And because I really wanted something, in those times I was let down by people or circumstances. And this just brought that to the light of day. So I brought this forward because this is nothing that's esoteric, but it is on the same level. It's going into the feeling nature of how I can change myself when I have a reaction to something. This is what this eclipse energy is all about. So nothing happens to us. It's brought to our attention so that we can establish walking on that double-edged sword and find out where we're out of balance. It's walking that middle path, as the Native Americans talk about. It's all about that. And this eclipse energy is bringing that forward to the light of day so that we can see where we are out of balance. That's what's the essential. And if we can stay in harmony and have compassion for ourselves when we are out of balance, that's dramatic because we hold the space for everybody else around us. And it's being honest with ourselves, saying, oh my God, I'm not doing so well right now. Things aren't the way I expected them to be. Not only on top of that, this hayride, it rained cats and dogs. Oh my God, another thing for me to be upset about. But because of the cornhole situation, when it rained, I'm saying, well, I can't change the rain, I'm having 50 or 60 people coming to my house. I set up a hayride, and you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. And I am telling you, because I changed my approach to it, everybody came and had the best time that they could ever have. In fact, people came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you have created a hallmark moment." Everything was perfect. The lights were here. The food was great. People, the children were outside playing in the rain. No one complained. They went on the hayride in the rain. And because it was raining, I ran to Walmart and got some rain ponchos, and all the kids were covered with rain ponchos so that they could experience the hayride and see the decorations I had set up. So it's all about bringing it back to myself and knowing, and because of this cornhole, that was a precursor to the eclipse. It was able to set the stage for where I was going. So each and every one of you, whatever story is going on in yourself, as much as it feels like it's a 3D mundane reality, it's really, really gigantic to have the courage to express when you're out of harmony, out of balance, and have the capacity to know that, and maybe call in friends to help you maybe pull that back into balance again. And if not, go inside of yourself through meditation and be able to do that. That's what this is all about. That's what this eclipse energy is about. Everything's about reflection. Everything's about looking through that looking glass. Within our relationships, past events, past lives, traumas, outdated self-images, we have the amazing potential to change our perceptions. We are about creating that harmony within ourselves, but the harmony is a byproduct of unraveling that chaos. It's unraveling it. It helps us create a new story. And that's what this year and next year's all about. It's about taking those patterns within ourselves and creating a new story. And that is priceless. And, we can talk about star seeds and talk about this or that, but you know what? We are our greatest gift to ourselves. And that said, this eclipse was conjunct the fixed star Spica. Now, Spica is one of those fixed stars that we can look up in the constellations and see. And when we have an energy pattern conjunct a fixed star, it's like an amplification of a particular type of energy. And Spica is a very auspicious fixed star, in the sense that it's all about a gift being gifted. Now, we can either gift something to somebody else, but that gift can be a realization of how we can open up to a part of ourselves. Don't you think we're the greatest gift to ourselves? Now, and I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, but we are. When we can establish and harmonize and be compassionate with ourselves, it's the greatest gift we can give ourselves, because that's what we are becoming as human beings. We are finding out who we are. We are opening up to the consciousness of who we are as star beings. We are star beings. We have the DNA from the ancient stars, but we are now also being downloaded by our own star, Ra. We are receiving light codes. So it's a combination of all those, the gifts that we have received from our star elders that have programmed the biosuits that we live in, but also being in our solar system, our own star right now is going through a great initiation. And it is downloading us with gifts that we can't even conceive. And the way that is being done is going through these eclipse cycles. And because all of us here are on a track of self-awareness, we are waking up to what we are and what we are not, who we want to become, and who we are told we are supposed to become. We are waking up on so many levels so that we can fall in love with ourselves, so our heart can balance that feather out and become as light as it can become. So, because we're going through another cycle, that the same cycle that was created in 2004, maybe some of you may wish to revisit that time period and see what was happening in your life. But another gift is that we were always in the stream of life. It's ever flowing. Our freedom is coming through our perception. You know, there is no good, bad, right, or wrong. Our freedom is through perception of how we want to view the world and our relationship to it. And that's what this eclipse energy is about. It's about our relationship to the stage that we are growing in and experiencing. And our soul is, God, my gosh, it's so dynamic. And even though, you know, I'm not Pollyanna, the fact of the matter is there are terrible things happening out in the world. It's not touching me in this moment. It only touches me if I turn on the news or whatever it is. But I choose to create the world around me, and that reality may be happening for other people, but there are a group of people on the planet that have the ability and the freedom to change their perceptions. And when enough of us change our perception, there's going to be that great moment, that synapse, where the whole world will be a much more peaceful place, a place that we want to create. And that's what a lot of us starseeds are working for. That's where we're going. And that's why you're all here. You're waking up to that by just going inside of yourself and discovering how you want to be the best you can be. Now, in a few weeks, there's going to be a lunar eclipse, and that's going to be in Taurus. Lunar eclipse means a full moon eclipse. And we're finishing up. I told you we're going in the eclipse cycle of Aries and Libra, but we're finishing up the eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. So the last part of this eclipse that we experience in the spring of being a detective to find out what parts of ourself we want to transform. This particular eclipse is all about conquering obstacles that prevent us from manifesting a reality that we want to establish. conquering obstacles, that taking those obstacles, looking at how they affect us, transforming them, obstacles that prevent us from manifesting. I guess we have to wake up to what we want to manifest. And some of us don't even have a clear idea of what that is. Because we have been told and programmed what we are going to manifest for so many eons. But if you want to manifest something that you really, 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 I mean, if you were a child, going into that childlike energy of being a child and everything is possible, what would that be? And maybe it sounds pretty far out, but what would you want to create? And maybe it sounds far out, but we are in a cycle now, a creative cycle of, oh my gosh, of the highest potential of possibility. I can't tell you what that is because I don't even know what it is. But we are going into the possibility of something that has not been created before. And each of us have a part of that. Each of us have a gift. The gift being gifted, conjunct that big star spike up. Each of us have a part of that gift that all of a sudden we'll be able to give. And it's kind of like all of a sudden we'll have a gift here, a gift here, a gift here, and all of a sudden it will create this gigantic gift of awareness and perception and possibility that all of a sudden something will happen. I mean, I can't tell you what it's going to be. This eclipse coming up, this lunar eclipse, full moon eclipse coming up is going to be, the sun will be reflecting on deep issues that we have not addressed. And we have the capacity to change and create that different reality. Remember looking at those obstacles and conquering them. It says what we are wishing to create. That means going into that childlike innocence. And what we're doing is we're preparing. All of this is in preparation. So from now until next spring, all of these things that maybe I brought to the table right here, this next spring is going to be about bringing that spiritual warrior forth and going for it. And that's because we have been working on clearing out everything that is not us and manifesting what we truly value within. What is truly us. And if you don't know what that is in this moment, you know what? Just like me in the cornhole game, oh my God, just go back to something that's really bothering you and look at it and go in deep investigation and find out what that's all about. Because it's not about what you think it is. It's about something deeper. I mean, my God, a cornhole game, brought me to this great awareness that I am activating parts of myself that haven't been dealt with. Having a temper tantrum because I've been slapped down so many times of not getting what I want. Instead of, oh my God, I didn't get what I want, so I guess I'm going to have to do something different. Really. Walking that double-edged sword, the middle path. It doesn't mean you can't have reaction. We're human beings. We have been programmed to have reactions. But now we're going to change those reactions into potential vantage points to have insight to what we are not. We are in a creative cycle, creating cycle, to manifest what we thought was only a dream. And from now until probably next April, when we have this next magnificent eclipse that we're going to have to get down and dirty, Doesn't mean we're going to have prime moments, but once we release parts of ourself that have been trapped so deep inside of us, once we've released this, we're going to be free. We're going to be spirits of joy, spirits of loving energy. And I can't say that's going to happen next spring, but oh my God, we're going to be probably on the path to that. So in essence, we're clearing the way. We're recycling experiences of being and bringing in new and different realities. One that humanity has been preparing for a very, 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 very long time. So even though we are in this time and space, so much the dynamics of what is happening now is phenomenal. We have the capacity to wake up in ways that we have never thought of before. Never, ever, ever thought of before. And all of us know that deep within our heart. It's kind of like going back to the film. I'm sure many of you have seen The Matrix. We know something, but we don't know. We know something. We're going towards something, but we don't know what that is. We have known since we've been young children. And if we woke up in our 20s or 30s or whatever it is, we know the reality we see without outside of ourselves is not the one that we feel in our heart. We see clean air. We see clean oceans. We see abundance for all. We see everybody getting along. We see, everybody respecting each other, whatever race we are, because we all have gifts to give each other. That is the humanity, the biodiversity that Mother Earth is offering us. Mother Earth is this wonderful sphere of biodiversity. It has everything from all universes everywhere through many star systems. It has many beings. It has trees and rivers and water and fire and air and elemental beings, fairies and gnomes and Sasquatch, and it has star beings, and it has all the races. We're all here knowing that we can create a sphere of harmony. And that's where we're at. We as humans are the caretakers of the 3D reality that we live in. We are the caretakers. And when we wake up to that multidimensional being that we are, being able to touch the farthest star outside of ourselves or the deepest core within the mother, when we can touch that and be aware of all the beings around us and work with those beings, oh my God, that's what we are going for. That's where we are heading. And we have the highest potential to do that. And I have known this since I've been a young child. I'm not just, people think that I'm just overly optimistic. But, my God, I'm like in my 70s. I mean, I have been through almost everything you can think of. I've been through, growing up as a kid, a teenager, and then going in and being married and divorced and having children and being disappointed and being, going through addiction. I've gone through, going through severe post-traumatic stress. I've been through just about everything. That's the advantage of being my age. That is the advantage of being who I am, because I can relate to just about everything you can think of. Everything, because I've been there. And if I haven't been there in this lifetime, I've definitely been there in other lifetimes. And I know that deep within myself. So I can relate. That's why we have lifetimes, to experience and become whole, to experience everything that we can become.